All right, we should be connected.
Yeah, for something involving RGB keyboards.
Oh, me in.
Glowy.
Admittedly, mine has to be because of how dark where my desk is.
Yeah, it was for a laptop.
Hmm.
All right. Jack, say something, please.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
All right.
Yellow?
Yes.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
we're
Yes, there's a delay. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
no
we're
problem.
doing the audio check to make sure I didn't accidentally mute our dumbass stream again.
Yep. No, it sounds good.
You do it once and ruin a whole episode, and now we have to check every time.
Yep.
Admittedly, I
So
haven't done that in years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're good to go.
Looks like we're all the way live. I can see us
Mhm.
and hear us.
All right.
If you want to tweet the link out on social media,
Sure. Send it to some Discords and put it
yep.
out there.
Very good. All right. All right. Let's get this thing a going.
All right. Let me get back into the chamber, which has levers.
What are you heading to the Shrine of the Silver Monkey?
Has it running into some
more like the-
arcane technology here?
More like the bowels of the ship. All right. Galaxy, you're swing for the top.
Sure.
All right, you may count down when ready.
We can begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Fragments of Silicon will really help you wake up in the morning.
All right. Welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon, the Daylight Interviews. Indeed, joining us this week is Jack Daniels of Lasso Games, and that is your real name, correct?
Yeah, well, they gave me John when I was born, but picked up Jack in college in marching band, and it sort of stuck around.
I'm like,
Thanks for having me.
no problem. Thank you for being here today. Right. So, how we like to get started formally is we like to get to know the people behind the games, the studio, and all of that assorted business. And we begin that journey by asking this particular question: what got you interested in video games, both on a personal and a professional level?
Well, I've been playing video games for as long as I have memories, pretty much. When I was, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years old, I think I got a Nintendo Entertainment System for Christmas or something, and I just have my earliest memories are playing games on that console, Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Brothers 3. Shadowgate, Castlevania. You know the hits, but that's really where my love of gaming started. Very early, they put a controller in my hand when I was old enough to hold things, and I figured out how to make the thing on the screen go up and down and side to side, and it was all over from there. But the thing that really did it was the music. I have loved game music since that time, and when I was a kid, I had one of those Talk Boy things from the Home Alone movie. You remember those?
Yeah,
It's like a cassette tape that you put in it. I used to hold it up to my TV and would record video game music onto a cassette tape and like make little mix stuff like that.
It
So
worked a lot less good than the movie.
it worked a lot less good than the movie, that is for sure.
I know media would lie to us.
What a shock.
Yes.
But yeah, that's really where it all began. And one of my love for video games and video game music sort of like branched out from there. And I joined the band I mentioned earlier. I was in marching band in college, and I'm actually in a community band currently called Hoot and Holler that we have here in our neighborhood. I play the trumpet for them, which is kind of fun. But music is what got me into game development as well. I really love chiptune music, and when Shovel Knight came out in 2015, the soundtrack absolutely blew me away. I researched Jake Kaufman and listened to his other work, and got involved in the Famitracker community and started making my own little chiptune arrangements and stuff. And I don't know, at some point I had the crazy idea, wouldn't it be cool if there was a game to go with some of this music? And I started working on Leventerra Tale of the Winds in 2015, and that's when we founded Lasso Games.
I see. Before we jump into that, did you ever get into like the OC remix community or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, I kind of I know about the community, but I've not really ever been involved. Like, I followed some artists on SoundCloud and stuff that referenced it, but I never really got super involved in that. But it's something that I should check out going forward from here.
Mm, they're a good community by and
Yeah.
large.
Awesome.
No, I mean, and who did we speak to from them earlier this year? I think their community manager.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so in terms of game development, how difficult did you find it?
Learning game development has been more of a trial and error process for me. That's lasted for years and years, over a decade at this point. But I never really had any formal training in game development, so I just took the interest really that I had in computers, and kind of started experimenting with writing some code. I had learned some web development skills. Of course, I've been on computers as well since as long as I've had one, which is like 1999. I think I had a dial-up PC in my house, and with 500 megabytes of hard drive space. If that doesn't age me too much, maybe it does. But and so I spent a lot of time online. I grew up on a cattle ranch. It's like kind of the internet expanded my mind outside of the world that I was raised in, and in inhabiting online space allowed me the opportunity to experiment with making little websites and little programs. I made some IRC bots back in the day when I was a little kid, just kind of learning basic programming logic in general, just through experimentation. And so by the time I started experimenting with Game Maker when I was still in high school, pretty much Game Maker 8.1, I was able to translate some of those basics into making the thing on the screen do what I wanted it to do, make it respond to button presses, things like that. And so it really just kind of picked up from there. More and more experimentation, trying to make the thing in my mind become a thing on the screen, and then just following a lot of tutorials and community forum posts, reading a lot of documentation, and then just trying stuff, see what happens. That's really been the process for about 15 years of my life.
And I suppose it's worth asking, how big is Lasso Games these days?
Well, when we started, we had 6 developers that were all involved with the a Kickstarter campaign that we ran for Levantera, and that campaign failed, and that's okay. But when that happened, sort of changed direction a little bit and started promoting Mini Law, which was a game that had been in development by one of our members previously. Like he brought it in and was like, "Hey, I know this Levantera campaign didn't go the way we wanted it to, but I've been working on this game. How about we publish it, finish it, publish it?" So we worked on Mini Law from, 2016 maybe, pushed it. I think it came out early access maybe in 2016 or so, and then we refined it and added stuff to it until it was ready for full release on January 1st of 2020. And then COVID hit us, and we did pretty good because the game was actually selected in 2017 while it was in early access to be a competitor in the Game Development World Championship in Helsinki, Finland. And we got invited to present the game there. And they flew me to Finland, and I got to meet game developers from all over the world. And it was an amazing experience. But that was a lot of really good exposure for us and helped to get the attention that I felt the game deserved. So we did pretty good both on our early access launch and in our full release launch in 2020. But to answer your question succinctly, nowadays we have changed to a co-op publisher model. So we actually have, I think, 20 members or so, but the structure of the business is a little bit different. Now we do things through a collaborative decision-making process, and we use membership meetings to decide how the company is run. And that adds an interesting dynamic. But there's a pretty big Discord server. I think we have 150 or so members in our Discord server, and there's a lot of talented artists, developers, things like that. And most of them, I think, are just curious as to what we're doing and how we work. But those who have been curious enough to put some skin in the game and become members have done some amazing work that surprised me. We have one member that they go by Flower Snake on itch.io. They self-developed, solo developed a game called Ping Wars, and they're working on a mobile version of it now. But it's like a tower defense style game. But they have done the entire development cycle pretty much by themselves, just with moral support and a little bit of guidance with publishing from Lasso Games and their members. And that project has just been amazing. Like, it's been awesome to watch that thing grow. So shout out to Flower Snake and the Ping Wars title. But yeah, so we sort of have grown quite a bit, but the level of involvement, I mean, I think we have about 20 members now.
And how long have you been this co-op collective publisher?
We started the co-op model. It was either in 2023, 2020, at the beginning of 2023 or 2024. I can't remember. It's been a couple of years, I think. But it's been going well. It allows us to share the responsibility and the burden of all the logistic things that go along with running a game development and or publishing business. There's appearances at local expos. We have a very local identity. We're in Huntington, West Virginia. We have developers from all over the country and sometimes the world, depending on what projects we have in flight. But we have an Appalachian identity, and we're very involved with the community here in West Virginia. Do a lot to support Appalachian game development and young people that are interested in getting involved and trying to figure out how they can get into game development. We try to give them resources for that, put on clinics. We've done a couple of game development labs at the Clay Center in Charleston, West Virginia, where young people come in and they do a week-long boot camp, and in that time make a game. And it's always fun to see the the games that they come up with in a week's time with zero training. But they do it all. They do the programming, the art, the music. It's great. And we've helped the Tri-State STEM School in Southern Ohio help their game development program. They have actually a high school with a game development program, which is super cool. But we've assisted their program with like some of their capstone projects. We give them feedback, and we serve as panelists and judges and things like that for some of their. They have like a jury style capstone that they do, where they'll do one where they work in teams and one where they do an individual component. Some members of Lasso Games, including myself, will go to the school sometimes and offer some guidance and support to fledgling game developers in the region.
I will say, it is rather interesting to get a look at, for lack of better terminology here, a area of game development that we have never talked about before. Like, I think you are the first Appalachian game development group representative that we've had on the program.
Oh, well, that's cool. I hope to see more on your show in the future, because there's a lot of really talented and really hardworking developers in this region, West Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, East Tennessee, Southern Western Pennsylvania, Southern Ohio, that whole area, western side of Virginia, that stretch of Appalachia it's often overlooked, but there is a lot of interest in game development in this area, and a lot of really, really driven folks who desperately want their art to be seen by the rest of the world. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it here a little bit, and y'all giving me the chance to speak about it. So I appreciate it.
Indeed. As I said, it's good to hear about. But I would be remiss if we didn't get into. I hesitate to say your latest game, because it's a bit of a not weird situation, but the initial PR I got was this game is being re-released in some capacity, and that's Super Highway Rampage.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great introduction and an accurate way to describe what we're doing with it. So here's the I'll try to keep it brief, but Highway Rampage started as a game jam project. We did the game maker community on Reddit has a quarterly jam that I think they still do, but they did it for a long time, and then they call it GM48. And you put together a team, you build a game in 48 hours, and then you submit it, and some metrics based on how many plays it got or how much ratings it had and how many shares. There's some math that they do behind the scenes to determine the winner. But Highway Rampage won GM 4815. I got a cool little trophy on my desk from it. Really neat. But we made the core gameplay loop in 48 hours. Now that version of the game, you can still download it there's links to it somewhere on the internet. I don't know where. I'm not going to drive any traffic there, but if you go to GM48 and check out GM48 number 15, there should still be a link to it. But the 48-hour version of the game, very different than the one that you see on the Steam store today. And that brings us to when we decided to take it from being a game jam project into a fully fledged commercial product, because we knew what we could do with mini law. So we were like, well, let's take this game. We've already got the bones and the structure for it. Let's expand on it. And Jeff Zhang, the director, was on board with that idea, and he's also the lead developer for it. So he did the lion's share of the work on the game, worked tirelessly through the night most time, and got a fully fledged game out of this 48-hour game jam that we had, and that was Highway Rampage. We released it for early access. I don't remember what year. It's been a few years ago. So It didn't do too well in sales, and that's fine. It happens sometimes. And it sort of sat in the Steam store forever with very little fanfare or aplomb. And we got some interest from the composer Bad Guys Get Dead. He ended up seeing what we were doing and was interested and excited about it and wanted to get involved. And so he started working with Jeff on this super highway rampage concept. So the main idea was that we were going to completely revamp the soundtrack. That's how it started. But by the time we ended up with the update, we ended up adding cutscene cinematics and some new drivers. There was a ton of new effects that were added, some UI improvements. There, I mean, it was just a massive load of bug fixes and new small features. But as you add them up, it's very significant, and we thought that it was worthwhile to add a qualifier to it that this is super highway rampage. So we gave it a little bit of a facelift and a rebrand on Steam, and re-released it. So yeah, I think it hit the stores in September of 2023 for early access, and then the re-release just happened on September on Labor Day. So now it's got this really banging soundtrack, and I hope everybody gets a chance to check it out, or at least check out the trailer, because Bad Guys Get Dead's music is incredible, and it sounds great in this setting.
And did anyone notice? Like, or rather, did any sort of interest pick up for the title after the rebrand and re-release?
Yeah, we definitely had some pretty significant interest, mostly in there were a couple media publications that came out, and of course the fact that I'm here right now, you reached out and heard about it, so there it definitely stirred something up. But honestly, I think that what ended up happening was we sold more copies of Mini Law after it, because people went to our publisher site and saw Mini Law, and I guess its accolades and copies. So we're hoping that some of these appearances, some of the discussions we're having now can help drive some traffic and move some eyeballs to Superhighway Rampage. I appreciate you asking about it.
I mean, understandable, but I also get why Mini Law would be moving more eyeballs, since, like, I hesitate to use the word statistically speaking, but just the fact that this was the finalist at a major gaming event means it's kind of the de facto main title of yours. So
yeah, it is. It's and I mean, there's good reason for that. It's super fun, super replayable. You know, I really enjoyed going and talking to other developers around the world about the development strategy of that game and how it came to be, and you know what everybody's contribution was to it and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. The development cycle of that one was pretty long, but it had a good solid. I don't want to call it a pot of gold, but a nice pot of bronze or copper at the end of the rainbow for us. You know, so
like
a worthwhile endeavor for sure.
And I suppose a good question here, not just in terms of Mini Law or any individual title, is, are they PC only? Are they Steam only currently?
Yeah, it's they're not just Steam. We do have DRM free versions available for Mini Law. I'm not. I don't think we actually published anything outside of Steam for Superhighway Rampage, so that could be another avenue we could explore. But Mini Law is on Game Jolt and Humble Store and itch.io as well, so you can get those. But Steam PC is the primary platform. We had a problem with Mini Law in that Game Maker 1.4.99999 or whatever version it was, like, went end of life and out of service, and we had to convert the project over to Game Maker Studio 2, or we had to make that decision. So we actually tried to do that and almost got it running and ended up making the decision that we were just going to continue supporting it in 1.4.9. So we actually reached a point where it's quite impossible to do anything to mini-law anymore because the IDE just almost doesn't run anymore on modern machines. So it's out there, and it is what it is for the world to see. I hope the world enjoys it. But Super Highway Rampage is a different story. We built it completely in Game Maker Studio 2 and have been blessed with its full, robust tool set and new improvements that they've made. So shout out to the Yo-Yo Games crew for their work on that. And also we actually converted Leventerra Tale of the Winds to Game Maker Studio 2, and the beta branch of that game, actually the Game Maker Studio 2 version. But I believe we may be delisting that game soon from Steam because we don't have a roadmap for its completion, and I don't think that we're going to have the resources to finish it. So that's a really tough thing for me because that project was like my baby, and it's my decision to not complete it. But after 10 years of being in development limbo, I feel like I owe it to our community to tell them the truth and just say, I don't think this project is ever going to be finished. Sorry. I don't know. It's a tough one, but I think it's going to be the next unnecessary phase just to kind of keep our community from being distracted. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of taking away from some of our other more complete titles that have plan, So unfortunate news there, but probably a necessary next step to make sure that we keep being able to make games and release new stuff.
I mean, if you feel that's the right choice, but how does the community feel about it?
Yeah, they seem to be pretty disappointed, as you could understand. I mean, the thing about it is that it lay dormant for so long that Steam started kind of knocking on my door like, hey, you can't do this. You can't just leave a game up in early access forever. You have to do something with it or take it down. And, we were trying to do stuff with it. We tried, and we actually did a development rush on that game not too long ago and put some changes to the repository, but I don't know if that will ever see the light of day. We still have some time to make decisions on that, but I don't want to mislead the community into thinking that it's going to be done because we don't have a plan for it. It's not in the roadmap, and I don't know. It's uncertain to me. It's the future of it is uncertain. So I'm still. I think that it's still probably the best move to delist it just so that it satisfies Steam's requirements. If it were up to me, I would just leave it and I actually did this. I wrote a release to the community and said, we don't have any plans for this. It's still here as long as Steam will let me keep it up. And if you want to support us and buy the game and play what there is of it,
Well, I'm sure you could at least have what you have currently, like released on your website or whatnot.
Yes, absolutely. We could totally release. It would be made available so that you could get it free.
So it's not lost
for sure.
forever.
It's not going to be lost forever.
Yeah.
No. It's just the commercial aspect of it. We made some missteps on it. We had a lot of hype from this Kickstarter, and we entered into a few bad deals that were my responsibility and my naivete in the beginnings of running the business. We issued a lot of keys that got resold illegally, and against the terms of Steam service. We entered into
that happens a lot.
Yeah, we entered into a retail deal with a couple of different key reseller companies. So it's all that to say, we have a ton of downloads of that game and so little sales, and because of that, and so it put us on the wrong foot to start with on the release of that one. And every release that we have done as Lasso Games has been an experiment. We've tried something different every time, and mostly because every project is different. Every one is a snowflake unicorn or whatever you want to call it. That's different, and it has to be managed and directed differently. But every release process has been different for us too, and that one was one that we learned a lot of really valuable lessons. But the most valuable lessons in life, I find, are usually the most costly, and that one cost us.
Sounds like it. And it sounds like you have the idea in mind to delist it, but I'm wondering what's staying the hand. Like like just from what you're saying here, it sounds like you're about 95% sure that you're going to end up delisting this game and formally ceasing development. What if anything is keeping the spark alive at this point in time?
Well, there's a couple things. One's a little bit of recency bias because me and Jeff got into a pretty good clip on developing some new features for it, and we had some disagreements and some things that we didn't see eye to eye on that we've managed to meet halfway in. But it's reached a point where I think that I personally do not have the time to devote to the project that it deserves, and without me being there to sort of inject that energy into it, I don't think that the development will. I don't think that the product will be done. I just don't think that it will be. I don't think that it will ever be. I mean, I may be able to sign it off to someone else to see to have them finish it the way that they want it to be done. Maybe Jeff would do that. Maybe somebody else in Lasso Games might take it. I don't know, but for the time being, I think that it would be best to take it down just because of the distraction. Like I mentioned, like it's gonna take attention away from our other projects, like it has already. And the fact that we're having this conversation is proof positive of it. Like, but it is what it is, man. I mean, I love that game. It's the reason that it's the thing that I started, and I hate to see it enter into this weird limbo state. But that's just kind of how it's been for 10 years, and I think I kind of owe it to myself as well to let it die, let it just be what it is, and move on to something else because it's holding me back as a creative as well.
That is unfortunate.
Yes, it sucks. It does. It really sucks.
But it sounds like you are at least being honest about it at this stage.
Yeah, radical honesty is my thing, I guess. I have a very hard time just kind of hiding my cards, and it's one of the things that's cost us over the years, but it's also one of the things that's driven people towards us is that they see my vulnerabilities, and I think that they know that I'm not going to try to take advantage of somebody, like I don't want to enter into that kind of relationship with anybody, let alone somebody who's doing a collaborative creative work with me.
Well,
I
just because you're
would rather be
ceasing
radically
development
minimal.
of it now doesn't mean it can't restart in like a couple years or whatever if you
Yeah,
get a big
that's true.
spark or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it was dead on the store for like 2 years with no real changes or updates. So yeah, it could totally happen. I mean, that's sort of the nature of this. I don't want to say this business or this industry or whatever, because I don't really even view it that way. From the creative aspect of it, game development from a creative perspective, it is like that. Sometimes you get this energy and all of the possibilities start like lining up. They look like chunks of work that you can do and end up with a result. Like when that happens and you see it that way, it's I don't want to say it's easy, but it's direct. It's straightforward. Work. But when that's not there and it just looks like a cloud of nebulous ideas and maybe this would work and I don't know about how this would be received, or this is fun to me but it might not be fun to anybody else, or this is fun to them but it's not fun to me, like all of that doubt and stuff sort of creeps in, and it keeps from having like a concrete plan of like what needs to come next. what do we need to work on? What do we need to focus on? And that sort of state is this project has kind of been cursed with that for a long time. We just kind of have like this nebulous cloud of what we want it to be, and then when it comes to the planning, it's just like it doesn't line up in the boxes that my brain needs it to be in order for it to make sense. I hope that made sense. It's a little bit of word salad, but
No, I think we get that this is a struggle because on the one hand, it's been a millstone on your game development, your company, but on the other hand, it's your passion project.
You got it.
Like,
Yeah.
but believe me, like we are not the hearing this story for the first time.
Yeah. I imagine that you probably had many guests that have had other projects like that they maybe only talk to you about, but nobody else they never see the light of day or something like
It's
that.
not
Or
so. It's not so much that they don't see the light of day. It's that that they've taken 3 years, 5 years. We've had some people tell us that it's taken 9 years to get their game out. Like honestly, I think just in terms of game development, your game here has set a show record, which is actually an impressive feat.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I like holding that record or not. It is tragic, though. I mean, it's honestly though the I can't overstate the lessons that have been learned from the development of that project. I mean, if it hadn't been for Leventerra and the lessons that we learned from it, like Lasso games wouldn't even exist. We wouldn't have Superhighway Rampage. We wouldn't have Mini Law. Like they probably wouldn't be here because we wouldn't have collaboratively built the development apparatus and the publishing apparatus and the support and community engagement apparatus that we had to build in order to, get Leventerra in front of people in the form that it was. So, it's one of those things. It will always have a special place in my heart, whether it ever gets finished or not. So, it's the value that it has provided to the team has already been made evident. So I don't have anything to prove to anybody. I just don't want to lose the goodwill of our fans that like invested in the development of that project and like put their own money on the line to like see this thing through. It was a lot of that money was from buying aftermarket Steam keys, I think, that were resold. But it notwithstanding, somebody somewhere along the way felt like there was something special to the game, and it would be nice to see it be completed to its form. But it takes a plan. You have to have a development plan, and you have to know what's coming next. And I have an idea, but I don't have the bandwidth or the creative power at this point in my life to finish it and us still be able to continue as Lasso game. So that is probably going to be the future for that title. But who knows? Things may change in a couple of years or in some other amount of time. I appreciate y'all asking about it though. Really, I mean, it's a special title to me, and I've really learned a lot working on it.
Before we continue, Galax, is there anything you want to ask our guests before you have to depart?
No, I think I'm pretty good, but I do have to head out. Thank you for asking.
All right. Catch you later.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and indeed, so kind of recentering back to the present here, so to speak. What I wanted to ask on Superhighway Rampage is, are there any plans to bring this title to consoles or mobile or any other platform, given that it seems to be in line with modern development standards?
Currently no, the short answer, but it really depends on, I guess, how our Windows units do in the next few months. Like if we sell enough that we can justify reinvesting that back into the time that it would take to port it for Mac, Linux, consoles, what have you, then yes. But at this time, it depends. Question mark? Is that fair enough answer?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Because
it's one of those things where like the development kits and stuff that we would need to have in order to release it, like we would basically need to have somebody who's like a developer who lives in their Mac and knows their way around a Mac and stuff, and a developer who lives in Linux and knows their way around and stuff. And like we have those people in our community at large, like in the interest community and in the support community, and we could probably like tap them in on that if we wanted to. But it's a matter of determining whether the juice is worth the squeeze. Because if we did that, they would expect to be compensated, and we would need that money need to come from somewhere. And if we don't have the sales, then we don't have the money, and we can't pay the people, and so on, so on. So there's a chicken and egg scenario with that, or we tackle it with the hopes that there will be a greater payoff at the end from broadening that net. So maybe it would be worthwhile. I don't know. My calculations at this time say probably not.
Yeah, unfortunately, when it comes to Mac and Linux versions, a lot of places report it's maybe 1 or 2% of their sales.
It's so low.
Yep.
It's such a low percentage. Like we released, I released a version of 11 Terra for Linux actually too, and it was great being able to get on like the Linux Reddit Linux gamers Reddit community and things like that, and announce that there was a Linux release, and people loved that they could play that version of the game natively, on their Linux machines, and it was great. But it ultimately amounted to such a small percentage of our player base that I get what it would feel like on the other side of that, to feel like your developers making a special effort to make sure that your platform is covered and all that stuff. And honestly, it's something that we really should do a better job at. It's a huge area of improvement we could focus on.
And at least when it comes to Linux, all it is costing your time. With Mac, you need the Mac hardware. You need the Mac
hardware,
development
licenses.
license. So you're looking at a few grand that you may not even make back.
Yeah. Now, I do know that Ping Wars is looking for, they're going to go for Android first, I think, but I think they might be looking at releasing on iOS later on too. So that's in the motions right now. We're trying to get our Google Play creds up to where they need to be and all that stuff, so that we can release Ping Wars on Android store. So that would be something to be excited about down the road. But we're still working through that process right now as well.
And in terms of actual developments on Superhighway Rampage, is it done? Like,
yeah, I think that this last version is a good complete release, and I think that the latest, I guess, re-release and rebranding of it is kind of the capstone that we put on it to call it a finished product. So from here, it's really just to see what we do with it. Where does it go? How does the community engage with it? What are there going to be memes? You know what I mean? Like, is anything going to get shared? Like the interest in it is really what drives our projects. Like the more.
Yeah. Do you want to put more development into like downloadable content, or spin that up into some kind of sequel?
Yeah. One thing that we have been asked for with Superhighway Rampage is for achievements and like cards and all the Steam stuff. So that's something that we might explore, because that had a huge impact with Mini-Law to like a surprising level of impact.
People
adding
love their
achievements. And cards. They really do, yeah. And we had huge sales spikes when we released the achievements update. So that was cool. Now I may be misremembering. I think we had like one achievement in early access, but then whenever we released it for full release, we had a whole slate of achievements, and we had a lot of positive feedback from the community on that. So that's something that we might look at soonish.
I see. And I suppose it's worth asking, what are you developing now in terms of a new project?
Well, the last project I was working on, ironically, was Levantera. So, new projects. I've got some ideas for some stuff that I want to work on, but I really want to pick one. I've had like 4 different ideas that I think are really brilliant, but I need to pick one of them and plan it and do it. I don't know if I should say any of them here. Why the hell not? I got one of them that's like an idea for like a RPG, but like a traditional JRPG style game. But then whenever you get into the combat, it's like a rhythm game, and the weapons are like musical instruments, and there's like a huge musical component to it. So it's like you'd still go around the world map and like level up your characters and stuff like that, but the combat would be all, music. So I haven't really planned that one out, but that's one of my ideas. And there's a couple of others that I was thinking of that aren't really fleshed out yet. But the development cycle from the design standpoint is something that I'm kind of learning to improve and trying to do a better job of planning things out before I start working on them, so that I don't put the cart before the horse. And so I'd like to see some design documentation maybe come out of that one of those projects soonish, and get some groundwork laid for it. But the sooner I can get back into working on games, the happier of a Jack I will be.
Well, good luck to you, I suppose, on the selection process of picking your next game.
Thanks.
And yeah, I think I've run through my gamut of questions. Hetty, do you have anything further?
I think I'm good.
Right.
All right.
Well, I appreciate you all having me on. It's been fun.
Indeed. It's been a enlightening conversation.
No.
And going down some routes that, while familiar, we don't travel down too often, in the sense of like early access games that are stuck in the void.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't mean for this conversation to go that way. I was hoping that we, could talk about Superhighway Rampage and stuff, but I appreciate that when it meandered there, it was a good moment to maybe educate the community at large on
we
some
have
of our...
some young devs who also like come across this, and learning about this stuff is very good for them, because not everything is always a failure if you can't get it out. As long as you learn something, that is probably the best thing that can happen.
Sure. Yeah. I've definitely learned more from my failures than I have from my successes. That's for sure. So if I have an opportunity to share those with folks for the sake of education, I'll take that. I'll take advantage of that, because it'd be better for somebody else not to step in the same pitfalls. But yeah, I appreciate the time. I've got to get going as well. Good luck, and I will be following y'all's show and checking it out more. Appreciate you having me on.
Indeed. On that note, we have come to the end of another episode of Fragments of Silicon, the Daylight Interviews. So that means be sure to tune in next time for the Sunday reviews. And until then, I shall wish you good gaming.
See y'all.